Everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder that the flash drive sale will begin on Saturday. The first 20 people who purchase the flash drives will receive the next 5 digital downloads as well as the DVDs for free. So basically paying for itself. Anybody who purchases before Friday will automatically receive the next 5 DVDs and downloads for free. You don't have to worry about being the first 20 people or what have you. So definitely take advantage of that sale. So let's get into this video. I have a lot of people, for some reason still looking into the whole Hebrew Israelite doctrine and trying to really understand what it's about. And again, I don't expect everybody to be able to watch my videos and see everything I put out. And there's not many videos out there. We have the debates, of course, with the Hebrews, and it's not much information really gone into everything that pertains to the whole Hebrew doctrine and the people that have, information against it. So I don't expect everybody to see the video, but it's a lot of people still posing questions about the Hebrew Israelite doctrine and about, whether or not we are cursed. Talking, of course, about the curse of Deuteronomy 28, everything that goes along with that, and what the Hebrews are talking about. So that main question, are we cursed? Are black people cursed? And again, I have a lot of videos, as you know, on this whole thing with the Hebrews and trying to get people to really understand what this really is about and how they are right in trying to really understand what it's talking about. Because when you look at Deuteronomy 28, when you read it, there's no other people on this planet that it fits but African American people. And we talked about this in Deuteronomy, in the Bible series, and in previous videos. The thing is, one, people for some reason want to believe that they cursed. I mean, it's just, to me, there's a lot of people trying to have a scapegoat or have some kind of explanation for the state of African American people and why we are where we are at. And to them, for some reason, they want to believe that we're cursed rather than believe that the whole thing is a setup and a hoax and not true and was written to give validity to slavery, to basically, condone and to basically give an explanation for why everything happened to us that happened to us throughout history, instead of the very obviously clear fact that, colonization, plain and simple. You had Europeans take over. And as you can see from what I talk about, what they basically did was create this doctrine to basically justify slavery as well as hide their agenda within plain sight, as I get into. So first of all, one, King James. King James was what? Irish, English. He was the king during the time of slavery. Now, besides the point of what the Hebrews are talking about with King James being a Hebrew and King James basically really trying to tell black folks what happened to him, which is why he gave us the King James version and he had a spirit put on him and everything, and to give us a correct version of the King James or of the Bible, I should say. Besides all that, that's bull crap anyway. But besides all that, the simple fact that if the Hebrews believe King James was a black man, here you have a black man ruling over black people being put in chains and going through slavery in America. Remember, who was ruling, who was controlling the colonies during slavery? Before the American Revolution, it was King George III. It was England. So we know England basically was running America before, during slavery, and basically during the time that the King James version was, created, or what have you. So this is England. This is King James, King of England, or what have you. Plain and simple. Why would you follow a doctrine from a black king that condoned slavery, that enslaved your people? Plain and simple. So their explanation would be because it was what's supposed to happen according to Deuteronomy 28. This was supposed to happen because we disobeyed God, we broke the covenant, and this was supposed to happen to us. So again, your question would be, well, how come it didn't happen to everybody? How come you had free black people out there? How come, if this curse is a curse, that we have rich black people today, successful black people today? King James was supposedly a king. Why is it that it only affected certain people. Now you can go by the whole Hebrews explanation of the 12 tribes being, multicultural, Native Americans, Puerto Ricans, or what have you, Dominicans, Cubans. But when we go and look at the history, when we look at what Deuteronomy 28 is talking about, this only happened to black people. Think about that. If they're all part of the 12 tribes, all these people who they claim, where is their, discipline? Where is their curse when we don't see the Puerto Ricans, we don't see the Cubans, the Dominicans, or what have you, suffer what black people have suffered throughout slavery, throughout history? Only us. So this is something you got to take a look at first. Also, you have to understand that the Hebrews want you to believe that they somehow figured out something that was hidden from everybody. They somehow, hundreds of years of having the Bible, they somehow was the only people to look in the Bible and read Deuteronomy and figure out it's talking about us. That's their whole claim. Deuteronomy 28 talk about us. Deuteronomy 28. This is a book that was created by the Europeans and given to us during slavery, taught to us during slavery. Talk about figuratively when I say given to us during slavery, of course. So why wouldn't they believe? Why wouldn't you believe that they already knew what Deuteronomy is talking about, especially Deuteronomy 28? They gave us the book. They taught the book to us. After slavery was over, we still had the book. They didn't change what it was saying. It still said what it said during slavery. So for them believing that they somehow cracked the code and figured something out that the white man didn't even know about, and they somehow stumbled upon something that is trying to give us the truth about, who we are and the people who we are. We are God's chosen people and everything like that. They just figured it out and they have no clue. They believe that the Europeans have no clue of what it's talking about. So, of course, their rebuttal to that would be that King James was black, and it was a black man that wrote that Bible and gave it to us, even though, they don't admit that King James was black. So that's another thing. You got to pay attention to this. And this is not small stuff. You need to really think about what I'm saying and look at it. You got to ask yourself, why would King James give us a book that we can't read? This is during the time of slavery. We couldn't read. People couldn't speak English. We wasn't allowed to read. And it would be hundreds of years before we would have the book in our possession to be able to really even try to understand it. Not to mention the supposed historical significance to the book pertaining to us, which is why Hebrews would say, this book was supposed to be revealed today. We're supposed to, they have the charge of getting us to understand the history of it and the validity of what the book is saying as it pertains to the Israelites and what happened in Deuteronomy 28. So, bogus, plain and simple. Now, another thing you got to look at is one, King James, dead and gone, 1600s, right? 1628, I believe it was. Forget exactly the date. But, dead and gone. Why? One, why would they give us our history if the Bible is our history? You pay attention. We have been seeing this throughout, the years. The Europeans are relentless at covering up our history, destroying our history, anything that pertains to real history as it pertains to us, gone, covered up. Why would they then give us our history in a book? That's everything that happened to us. That's explaining our situation. There it is, right there, right in the book, Deuteronomy 28. Read it. Here it go. This is why this is. And then you have to read it and understand, who does it benefit? How does it benefit us in this physical world? We're talking about something that's supposed to pertain to us when we're dead and gone. So we're supposed to sit back and just wait and allow the physical world to be conquered by them, and everything that we can have, true spirituality, true wealth, we're supposed to forego, for these earthly masters of ours. I mean, think about that. Who does it benefit? The doctrine benefits them, the people who gave it to us. It doesn't benefit us. It benefits us in the hope that it's real, that, God is going to take us to heaven. We're going to have our mansions and everything like that. The only benefit we get is when we die. Think about that. Why would they give us a book that basically shows them as the bad guy, that the Hebrews say, talks about their demise? They're going to be killed and they're going to be enslaved. Why would they give us that book? when everything we have been seeing in real history shows that, one, they want to put themselves as the creators of everything, the inventors of everything, the ones who created this and did this, and, you know, suppress all real accomplishments of us. Now, when you read in Deuteronomy 28, clearly talking about us, but then you have to go back and backtrack and look at the accomplishments of the Israelites. You know, everything they conquered, what they was able to do, the Ark of the Covenant, having the direct contact with God himself. Why would they want to give us a book that is expressing that we are these chosen people and we have this power and this connection to God? Why let this book exist when everything else has been covered up? So as I talk about in the Ancient History series, as well as in the Bible series, about what's really taking place when you read in the 5 books of Moses, what's actually happening, how they're using this biblical story to basically cover up the true history of their conquest, of what they was doing. It's genocide, basically. So when you pay attention to the stories, the conquering of the Israelites, as I have been showing in the series, that the Israelites are basically covering up for the conquest of the Europeans. Plain and simple. There is no proof at all. Nobody can show you any proof of any Israelites going out and conquering any of these territories. The Amorites and the Girgashites and the Hittites and the Perizzites and the Jebusites and what have you. No proof of these people. There's no proof of them being conquered. The Hittites we know, but as I talked about in the series, they make up the 2 Hittites. The one that they basically stealing from, that's in the biblical sense, and the one that we know that we can prove from, you know, from ancient times. So when you look at it, you have what the Bible is talking about. One, going by the biblical story. Here you have God telling the chosen people that he basically have this land for them. And when you read it in the book, what's taking place? They're going out and conquering these lands. So when you think about God Almighty, God is giving you something. How is he giving you something when he's telling you in order for you to get it, you have to break commandments that he wrote? You have to break laws that he gave you. You have to murder, kill. What happened to forgiveness? What happened to mercy and peace? He's telling you to go and utterly destroy these people. Wipe them out. Moses telling the people to kill the women, children, the women that have lain with a man, and keep the ones that have not lain with a man for yourself. Kill all the boys. Think about what it's talking about. This is genocide. This is murder. This is what's taking place in real history that we can see the Europeans did, that we can prove the conquest of. No proof of these Israelites. So the Bible is covering up for what really took place in history and using, you know, the whole narrative that this was biblical. This was God's doing. This is what God wanted to happen to these people. And these are African territories of land that was basically, you know, taken, stolen, and passed off as these Israelites supposedly following their divine right given by God to take over these territories. So that's basically what it's talking about. And when you follow the story and compare it with history and what was going on in these areas around this time, it only fits one people, the Europeans, who was doing the actual conquering. So how can God give you a place, but then tell you to go and kill these people? He told Moses to send out spies. Spies. This is supposed to be God. How is God telling Moses to basically set up reconnaissance missions for his people? This is what Numbers is about. As we talked about in the series, Numbers. I want you to number your people. Find out how many can actually fight. Are they old enough to go to war? Because you got to go and take this stuff. I'm not giving you nothing. You got to go kill these people, murder them, kill their kids and everything, and take it. What it's talking about. So when you read Numbers 13, it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Send down men, that they may search the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel. Of every tribe of their fathers shall ye send a man, every one a ruler among them." So from each of the 12 tribes, send out somebody. Send out a spy that's going to go down there and basically take a look at what's going on to tell whether these people got good stuff or bad stuff. So he says, "And Moses, by the commandment of the Lord, sent them from the wilderness to Paran. All those men were heads of the children of Israel." Skip down to 17, it says, "And Moses sent them to spy out the land of Canaan," which is Israel, "and said unto them, Get you up this way southward, and go up unto the mountain." Now who does this fit? Who does this fit? Just like Deuteronomy 28 fits us and can only fit us. When you're talking about this type of conquest, this can only fit one people, plain and simple. And that's the Europeans and their conquest. And it's the only thing that the proof shows. The proof does not show a group of Hebrews going out and conquering these lands, plain and simple. It does not show, because you can go back and just look at the fact that Northern Africa and these whole lands called the Middle East, who was conquering around what time? We know it was the Greeks. We know about the Persians. We know about the Romans. There is nobody else that we can go through and find proof, facts of the conquest of these people around that time, or anywhere near that time from any other people but them. There's no proof of nobody else. So it fits them more so. Now and again, the King James Version was written 1604 to 1611, when of course slavery was already going on. So all he simply had to do was write about what they were doing to us. The problem is, again, you guys are believing that Deuteronomy 28 was written, by Moses during the time of Moses over 2,000 years ago. And that is some kind of prophecy as what would happen to the Israelites, which supposedly, according to you guys, are us. So no, that wasn't the case. It's called the King James Version for a reason. And the reason why we know this was written, his version of Deuteronomy 28 was written by him, and it's different from the older manuscripts, is because, as I showed, you can go back and look at Codex Sinaiticus, look at Deuteronomy 28:68, where it's different. As it says in the King James Version, it's talking about going back to Egypt on ships. When you look at it in Codex Sinaiticus, written in Greek, long before, King James Version. The older versions, it's not talking about going back to Egypt on ships. Deuteronomy is not the same in the older versions as it is in the King James Version. It's talking about children in Deuteronomy 28 and the older manuscripts in that verse. So this is one of the ways we can tell. Two, also, you have to look at the fact that, King James was a Mason. He's a Mason. And the person who he got to help him finish the Bible was Francis Bacon, who was considered one of the fathers of Freemasonry and a master coder, which the Bible is in fact coded. So you have to look at it for what it is, plain and simple. Their justification and plan for the oppression, enslavement, justification of enslavement of African people. It's their history. Yes, it's our history to a sense that it's talking about what happened to us in covertly, but not true history of us, of African people, plain and simple. Now, this whole thing, as I talk about in the Bible series, of this separation between Africans and Hebrews or what have you, it's absurd. It's retarded. And we're the only stupid people that do such a thing. It's crazy. We don't differentiate, the damn Italians from the English. They're white. White is white, plain and simple. They want you to look at it as if we're talking about two separate species. One is just the species that sold us out, and the other one being, them, the Hebrews. But the Hebrews are just multicultured, multi-ethnic groups. But we were the only ones to be punished. So you got to think about what they're saying here and look at it in the context of us being punished only in a historical context, far as where we can place the stories of the Bible and who we can place what happened, what took place with. We cannot take those stories and put us in the place of these Hebrews going out and conquering, and nobody's talking about it.